Hi everyone, it's me, Katie. This week's edition of social commentary video is going to be the good old days it worked for me. We've all been guilty of this. I have been guilty of this. Everyone says something like, oh, I was spanked as a kid and I turned out fine, or I had to deal with XYZ and I turned out fine. Most people said or have said things to this effect. Side note, if you are still talking about it, you're probably not fine. You were probably traumatized from that event. If you think back to your childhood, basically what you remember is things that stand out because they were exceptionally bad or exceptionally good. Nobody remembers the day-to-day of what happened in 3rd grade or the day-to-day of what happened in 2nd grade. I remember one day in 2nd grade, we had to leave the classroom because some kid threw a fit and started knocking over tables. One day, a kid peed their pants on the floor. One day, I got my name written on the board. I was traumatized, more on that later, for kind of misbehaving. I remember having a hard time spelling and pronouncing one of the teacher's names, so she wrote it out on the board. Her name was Miss Pogrosic, so she wrote Pole, P-O-L-E, Grow, G-R-O-W, Sick, S-I-C-K, and said, this is how you say my name, even though it wasn't spelled that way. And that's all I remember of 2nd grade. The only thing I remember from 1st grade is one time I brought in a troll. I used to collect those little troll things for show and tell, and no, it wasn't a troll. It was one of those cups that turns color when it gets cold, and then you touch it and it goes back to its regular color. And I brought that in. I went home I did my show and tell, and then we had to put all our show and tell items on top of a bookshelf. And I went home after school and I went to go get a drink, and I really wanted to drink from that cup because it was my favorite cup, and I realized I didn't have it. And so my mom actually drove me back to the school. It was 3 minutes away. And we went to the classroom. My 1st grade teacher was 80, she was 80 something years old. She was a really old woman. And the school board wanted her to retire and she just wouldn't. But anyway, we went to the classroom and I looked at the classroom and I was like, there it is, there's my cup. And we couldn't get in the door, so the teacher came eventually, and I started crying because I really wanted my cup. 6 years old, and she was like, you don't get the cup if you're crying. And then, finally she let me and my mom come in, and I got it, and I got to go home. Literally the only thing I remember from 1st grade. 3rd grade, I remember once, I think, or maybe twice, but one time stands out to me, getting my name written on the board, mostly because I had to get up and write my own name on the board as punishment. And then I also remember a good thing where we had a behavior chart, and if you got 20 stickers, then the teacher would walk us to Burger King, and she would buy us Burger King for lunch, whoever got the full amount of behavior stars for the month. And pretty much I got that almost every month because I really was generally a good kid and also teacher's pet. So yeah, she used to walk us to do that, which I'm sure you can't do now, but in 1994, 3, that was totally cool. So that's what I remember from 3rd grade. So you see where I'm going? You remember exceptionally good or exceptionally bad things, and if it's something that you remember and you're still talking about it, you're probably not okay from it. You remember it either because it was exceptionally good or exceptionally bad, and I promise you, if you're remembering getting spanked, it's not because it was an exceptionally good memory. So, all that to say, times change, things change. The world changes, and I'm sure throughout history, people have said the same stuff. People generally are kind of resistant to change. Today people are like, oh, well, why do kids need cell phones to do their homework, or why do kids need computers? I went to the library. But the type of homework you have to do now is very different, and the world is different, and the skills that you're going to need to enter the job force are different. So yeah, I went to the library in high school. I went to the library and photocopied encyclopedia pages for 25 cents or whatever and used those for my reports. But now I can totally understand that I can appreciate that the type of homework they have is different because the types of skills that they're required to acquire are different. And can you just imagine back My battery totally died while filming this, but I think I know where I was. So we're just gonna pick right back up. So can you imagine back in the day, people being like, what are washing machines for? We don't need that newfangled technology. I can wash them with my hands just fine. Who needs cars? My horse is strong and healthy. Who needs electricity? My oil lamp burns great. You see my point, right? And I think at some point in the future, either us or future generations are gonna look back on us and be like, wow, that was silly that they didn't think we needed those things. And beyond technology, psychology changes. In addition to changing times, changing technology, our understandings of medicine, human interaction, psychology, and child development have all gotten better as well. So generally, conveniences are a part of development. Yet, people seem to resist change unless it benefits them personally. And I mean, this can be illustrated with something as simple as like a kitchen upgrade. So we had somebody quote our kitchen for an upgrade, and it was an older guy I was talking to, and he made a point about how everyone he talks to do his, basically his sales pitch, it's usually the women who care more about it, because they're the ones who generally, yes, I'm gender stereotyping, but they're the ones who generally spend more time in the kitchen, so they care more about those upgrades like a dishwasher or a big sink or a convection oven or whatever it may be, and the men really just care about the price. Now that can totally be reversed in a situation where the man does more of the cooking. Then they will be the ones to care more about the conveniences in the kitchen because it affects them personally. So we work fast and we work hard. We're expected to be more productive at work, and so these conveniences are becoming necessities, really. Nobody has the time to do a modern day job and also wake up every morning, tend to the farm, wash your dishes by hand, or wash your clothes by hand, and I don't even know, do you gather oil for it? Like, what do you do with that? I don't even know. You get my point. Churn your own butter, make your own flour from wheat. So anyway, especially with psychology, a lot of it, in my opinion, comes down to regular old empathy and also the NIMBY, or not in my backyard, mentality. So psychologically, we know a lot of the old school punishments are damaging, like spanking, kneeling in the corner on rice, even writing your name on the board in school, having all your toys taken away, thrown out in trash bags, getting the door taken off your room, which, by the way, I think is like a really gross punishment, and it's nothing that I ever had to deal with. But especially if it's like a teenage girl, like, you want and you need privacy, and that's super gross to just know that like anyone could just look in your room at any time if you're changing or anything. Yet there's still somehow a crowd of people, generally an undereducated crowd of people, who thinks that these punishments are okay. And for some reason, they're like determined to perpetuate their own traumas, because they continue saying that they are okay from having had to deal with these things, but they're not, because they're still talking about them. The only thing I will agree with is that spending more time outside, as in the good old days, and doing physical movement is a lot better than just sitting inside and playing video games. But honestly, that's just like a parenting thing. Kids can still be... Actually, you know what? I'm not even gonna say it's a parenting thing, because it's also the parents' fault as well. The parents can demonstrate a healthy lifestyle for their children. Where I live, like a lot of people in my neighborhood, they go on family walks around the neighborhood. They go on family bike rides, and so I also think that the parents should demonstrate those skills and take 30 minutes and go on a jog. Or I see mothers and young children, not young, but like, I don't know, middle school age, jogging together. So you can go do those things with your kid, and not just telling your kid, hey, video games are bad, no more, go play. And then they just go outside and I'm like, what do I do now? But I generally think, it's my experience and just observing people, and I did get a degree in psychology for whatever that's worth, that people are afraid of things that they don't understand. And so, for example, I'm like afraid of the stock market. I don't understand how it works. My husband, on the other hand, is a business guy. He has an accounting degree, he has data analytics masters, and he understands how that stuff works, and he's always trying to talk me into investing. And sometimes like I'm like, okay, like if that's like, you're the one who knows how this works, so okay, but like I'm nervous. But generally, like I will say, I think I'm scared of it because I don't understand how it works. But generally, people won't admit that they don't understand something. Instead, they'll put it down, they'll demonize it, they'll talk down about it, they'll refuse to acknowledge that they don't know what it is, they will refuse to learn anything new because they say they know everything that they already need to know. And this does, I keep bringing this up in my social commentary videos, I feel, but I think it explains a lot, is the Aristotle complex, superiority complex, hubris hypothesis. In short, the psychological need for a group of people to feel that they are better than another group of people. This is very highlighted in countries like the United States, where exceptionalism is very important. The belief that the country you're in is better than every other civilization in the history of the world. However, I have other videos on that if you'd like to go watch, but those psychological phenomenons are really behind a lot of what's going on and the things that I choose to talk about in my social commentary videos. So in short, just because something worked for you in the past doesn't mean it's the best or even a kosher way to go about it today, like spanking your kids in public or smoking in restaurants. So people need to put themselves in others' shoes more often, in my opinion, and be willing to admit that the way that you were taught, that the way you grew up, isn't the only way, and it may not even be the best way. If you like these videos and you'd like to see more, please click the thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. I would love to hear from you.